It started with a vision for how the internet should work, how it could work.
It really should be possible for anyone to just kind of wave their hand and carve out a piece of cyberspace and create a world of their own.
But the technology to achieve such a vision simply did not exist.
There's no way that you can have really high throughput and also have all these security and fairness properties. I was able to convince myself it's not possible. And I set it aside, and it would come back and haunt me. And it would keep nagging at me. And so I would pick it up again and set it aside again. And this kept going for years.
3 years later, Lehman had a breakthrough, the hashgraph consensus algorithm. In 2015, Manson Lehman founded Swirlds to battle-test the algorithm in private permissioned environments. And the following year, Lehman published a technical paper. But in order to realize the vision of a fairer, more secure digital future for all, the world needed a trust layer, a public ledger built on hashgraph.
Okay, it looks like we are down to the final seconds here.
3, 2, 1. Open access.
The network is open. As of this moment, we have council member nodes online, ready to take transactions from anyone, anywhere in the world.
Since open access, Hedera has witnessed exponential growth on the network, with billions of real-world transactions, hundreds of applications, and tens of thousands of ecosystem developers. The Hedera Council has gone from strength to strength, growing to 29 members on 6 continents, stewarding the network responsibly and ensuring its longevity for generations to come. Hello, future.
Hello everyone, and welcome for today's Hedera Roundtable. This is part of the general monthly community call, and today we are excited to talk about the ERC3643, also the Asset Tokenization Studio and the HBAR Foundation Q1 recap. So for this, we have an awesome, great line today. Thank you for coming us here today with all of us. So today we have Sabrina from the HBAR Foundation. Also, we have Luke from Tokenai, and we have 2 great members of IO Builders, Alberto and Ivan. Thank you for accepting the invitation and welcome.
Thanks for having us. So I guess I'm kicking off this tokenization special with some THF recap. So recap of the first quarter of the foundation before we jump into the other topics, which is ERC3643 and the Asset Tokenization Studio with IO Builders team. So without further ado, started the year with a bang at the HBAR Foundation. So we welcomed new leadership with Charles Atkins coming over from Hedera, alongside some very good new additions to the team. There was also a new treasury allocation that was made to the foundation to support growth in multiple areas like NFTs, DeFi, RWAs, DePIN, and DIDs. In terms of project updates, I guess I can go segment by segment. So in the payment space, there was a partnership between 2 of our ecosystem startups, Zenny and WePay. So to recap, Zenny has been live on Hedera since 2022. They're a travel tech booking company, and they already had an accounting and settlement solution that tracks records and settles every transaction completed on their ecosystem. WePay is it's a Caribbean-based payment technology company, and they specialize in electronic payments for business. So they kind of worked together. They will be launching a digital travel payments into the Caribbean region. In the RWA space, we could see Archax continuing their expansion. So they recently announced that they acquired a US-based broker-dealer. It's a FINRA-regulated broker-dealer plus an alternative trading system. That means they'll be able to distribute RWAs into the US, but also they will be able to support secondary trading there. They also tokenized the Fidelity International Money Market Fund on Hedera. Another RWA project called Voltic. They announced a partnership with the World Gemological Institute to tokenize 3 billion worth of diamonds on Hedera. And finally, TF News, the Nasdaq filed to list and trade the Hedera ETF for HBAR. In the socials space, Zoop launched a Telegram mini app, and they also partnered with THF to place a joint bid for TikTok. Galaxy announced the $1 million creator fund to support 50 creators. Karate Combat, their Up Layer 2 is now powering the only gaming for top flight football. And then Toon FM announced a collaboration with Snoop Dogg. In the DeFi space, Centex passed 100 million HBAR in secondary sales, so congratulations to them. Bonzo, became one of the keystones of the DeFi ecosystem on Hedera. They had their TGE. They launched the liquidity rewards program. Sorcerer Swap, I can't really keep up with all the updates that they have because they're really good at shipping. But they did announce something that's very interesting, is they will be supporting ERC20 tokens to be swappable with HTS tokens. And they also integrated the Coinbase on-ramp for HBAR. And a new launchpad was announced also called Origin. Many new things in the AI space, of course, and you guys probably know that even better than me. There was a ELIZA OS integration for agents, GibChat, and also Hashgraph Online DAO launched a Convai feature. In the deep-in space, Neuron continues to shine. They started testing their 4D Skyflight tracking system for drones, and that's in partnership with the UK Civil Aviation Authority. So congratulations to them. Sustainability space, Dovu also marked a big milestone. They surpassed 4.5 million transactions on their marketplace. And a very prominent project called Zeptagon. They announced the integration of the UNDP Digital Public Good National Carbon Registry with the Guardian. So with that, any country, government, or organization that decides to use the registry will have the option to digitize and tokenize their carbon markets on Hedera. So that's pretty massive. In terms of infrastructure integrations, we made some good headway. So Chainlink CCIP is now live on Hedera, and that came on the heels of data feed and proof of reserve integrations that were also announced back in December. So now we have most of the core components supporting Hedera on Chainlink. That's a key infrastructure that's going to support all areas from Web3 to institutional use cases. And then overall, we're in a pretty good place now when it comes to bridging, because we have Axelar, Layer 0, and now CCIP. So the ecosystem has options. Fireblocks, we're continuing the integration with them. They are now supporting EVM on Hedera, and we think that will be very meaningful, especially to boost the RWA adoption. In terms of RPC services, Linkpool added support for Hedera. Citadel Wallet also integrated Hashback. And I think one of the big breakthroughs also that we had this quarter is USDC listings, and both on exchanges and new on-ramps. USDC was listed on Binance and Crypto.com. We also have the Alchemy Pay on-ramp. And so in the past month, overall, we've more than doubled the supply of USDC. There were also some HBAR listings. So the HBAR was added to the Telegram wallet. That means now it's accessible to up to 1 billion, users, monthly active users on the platform. And the HBAR was added to Coinbase Prime, SBI VCT, BingX, and also BitO. And HBAR futures were listed on Binomial Exchange as well as Coinbase Institutional. So a lot going on. But last but not least, we also joined the ERC3643 Association. So today we have Luc to tell us more about this, and we're very excited for this collaboration. So Luc, over to you. Maybe you can introduce the ERC3643 Association to our community, as well as kind of the background, how that came about.
Yes, sure, and thanks a lot for having me today, and congrats for joining the association with the Hedera community. We are very happy about this. Hedera is amazingly active, as you just prove it. It's crazy everything that is happening in just one quarter. So ERC3643, it's actually an open source suite of smart contracts. It was developed years ago, and in 2023, I guess, we created a non-profit association, the ERC3643.org, which is the non-profit association ensuring the development of the protocol, and that's where Hedera just joined as a core member. So quick word about this protocol. It is a protocol for permission tokens. So the main idea is that for many type of tokens, for example, security tokens or payment systems, loyalty programs, that kind of tokens that needs to be a bit smarter than standard ERC20 tokens. You need more functions, and you can make them permissioned, meaning that only eligible token holders can receive these tokens, and you can track the ownership of the token during the full value chain. So it's perfectly suitable for financial products, but not only. So we have developed initially this protocol years ago. I think we did the EIP submission in 2021 and achieved the final status in 2024. So it took some time, and actually it's a result of years of working with financial institutions, different corporates to tokenize assets. So it's mostly used for security tokens, for RWAs, but not only. And initially it was created by Tokeny, which is a software company active in the tokenization space, and I'm the CEO at Tokeny. And a few years ago, we realized that if we want to standardize the industry, if we want to make it happen, it's not about, it's about growing the pie and not trying to share already the pie. So we open sourced a lot of smart contracts. We invited a lot of our partners, and now in this association, we have different type of players. We just reached 105 members, something like this, selected members. We have global law firms, we have Web3 players, we have tokenization platforms, and we have financial institutions. And the goal of this non-profit association, as I was saying, is to ensure the development of this protocol on the long term, but it's also to fix every issue that the tokenization industry is facing, because we all have the same issues. And for example, currently we have some different working groups. We have one about privacy, because yes, we can bring a lot of asset on chain, but it's not necessarily useful to share all the information, especially the price of these assets for each transaction. So privacy is important. We also have cross-chain discussions, because we know that the future is hybrid, is cross-chain, multi-chain, whatever we call it. But we know that all of these networks need to collaborate, to work together, to be interoperable. So each of these topics are industry issues, challenges, and for each of them, we bring several members on a voluntary basis around the same table, and we try to find solutions, concrete solutions that we open source for the ecosystem. And what is good is that all of this is based on the same suite of smart contracts, ERC3643. And thanks to this, we can streamline the process and the industry, make sure it's standardized. So what makes ERC3643 tokens special? As I was saying, they are permissioned. It means that we manage on-chain identities. So you can really identify properly the different stakeholders on the blockchain. So an on-chain identity is some kind of abstraction layer. It's a smart contract, and you can link one or several wallets to your identity. And basically, it works with verifiable credentials. So directly on-chain, you are identified properly, and then you can have any smart contracts verifying this verifiable credentials to do things. So for example, every time you want to transfer an ERC3643 token, the smart contracts will check if you are eligible to receive this token. And you can also add other compliance rules, different type of rules. It can be anything you want. It's very modular. For example, rules related to the offering, like maximum number of investors or trade per month or that kind of thing. So it's very, very large. We even have some members working on the compliance modules to check your IP address when you do transfers or that kind of thing. So even in terms of cybersecurity, it is very, very interesting. So with this protocol, billions of dollars of assets have been tokenized already. A lot of different type of assets, investment funds, debt instruments, equities, IP rights, commodities, a bit of everything. And now it's about growing as an industry, making sure that the whole value chain is aligned. Because when you tokenize the assets, the truth is that you need a lot of things. Usually you need a law firm, a fund administrator, a tokenization platform, distributors, DeFi, a lot of different things and components. And all of this needs to be interoperable. So now we bring this interoperable standard by default, but we also need interoperability in terms of operations. If nobody understands your smart contracts or cannot check the provenance of the smart contracts and the audit, etc., it's quite hard to work with the smart contracts. So we are basically all trying to join forces to make it happen. I know that the ERC3643 name is terrible and very hard to remember. It's a really ERC, so we didn't choose a number. Before it was called the TRX protocol, and we still use TRX, token for regulated exchanges, because it's much simpler to remember, much more fun. I hope it gives you.
Luke.
Thanks for the deep dive. Go ahead.
I think we have one question. How do you see the role of on-chain identity evolving in the future, particularly in terms of security, privacy, and user adoption across various Web3 networks?
So I think it's extremely important, and it's why this standard is actually becoming a market standard. It's because you can properly identify the stakeholders on chain. It's good to represent the asset, but if you don't represent the stakeholders, you cannot manage any permissioning or any rules between these actors, right? We've seen a lot of other projects doing simple whitelisting of wallets. For us, it was not enough because first you can have several wallets, someone can see your key, etc., and you have a lot of rules that you cannot apply based on wallets because you need to identify one single holder as an identity. Also, what we try to do is not to input all of the data on chain. As far as I know, blockchain is a terrible database, to be honest. It's a very slow computer. You can put status and proofs, but if you try to encrypt too much data, it's becoming quite complicated. It could work theoretically, but it will work only if these identities were self-sovereign identities, meaning that the ID owner manages his own data and his own identity, which is the end goal. But in reality, we saw years after years that it's not that simple. The end users, they don't know how to secure their data, how to manage their data. And anyway, financial institutions need access to this data. So we gave up a bit on this idea of doing a self-sovereign identity for the moment. And what we do is just some kind of directory on chain where you can see the proof that someone trusted, authorized, has verified the data. And then you can ping this actor and ask him access to the data. So for the moment on chain, you don't really have all the information. You just have a hash of the information telling you who is the information and who has signed, verified this information. And we think it's already way enough to apply compliance rules. Hopefully, in the future, we'll start seeing some users managing their own data, and eventually putting this data on chain. But the end goal is not really to put all the data on the blockchain. Long answer, but complex topic.
I don't know if I think we might have lost Louis here. But yeah, thanks so much for sharing this. And maybe one more question for you, Luke. What would you say are the key challenges to adoption right now to RWAs, and maybe some of the key drivers too?
Yes. So for the moment, when you tokenize, you can basically reduce the cost of your administrator, like your fund administrator, your agents. That's good because it's more digital. So okay, that's good, but that's not super exciting, right? What people want when they tokenize is to make sure they bring new use cases for the end user, meaning secondary market, collateralization, everything we see in DeFi, etc. But for this to happen, you need the proper set of tokens. What we've seen so far very often is tokenization at the distributor level. So, for example, you have an exchange tokenizing an asset, but then this tokenized asset is blocked in this exchange, in this distributor. And if you have another distributor, you have another token for the same asset. So basically, that's TradFi, where everyone has his own ledger and everything works in silos. So what we try to do, especially with the checks protocol, is to say, if you have an asset, you tokenize it on the blockchain, and then you give access to distributors to your token. So every transaction will move the same token. So it's basically giving back a bit the power to the issuer to control his distribution, and ideally to get the direct position of the end investor and not nominee positions. So this is the big shift actually of how finance works. So it takes some time, but this will change everything, because if the end users, the end investors get finally their tokens, and that these tokens embed compliance rules, they can finally use their tokens in DeFi, secondary market, peer-to-peer trading, etc. So finally, we will see much more adoption, because these tokens will be useful. Today, in most tokens you can buy, most RWA tokens you can buy, you cannot take them out of the platform where you book them, and we think it's an issue.
That's primary and locked up, right? Yeah. I think we have Luis back, so welcome back. How are we doing on time? Do we still have time for a couple more questions for Luke, or should we move on to the next topic?
Yes, we have some more minutes, so we can continue making him some questions. So I don't know from IO Builders if we have some questions for Luke. Okay.
You guys are on mute.
Yeah, so not now from my side. So probably we can talk about the Asset Tokenization Studio and then see the synergies and the vision from Luke about what we are building together with the HBAR Foundation and Hedera, which is the Asset Tokenization Studio, where we are building a set of smart contracts, an SDK, and also an UI to represent different digital assets like bonds, funds, equity, debt, with a vision of building it as a modular solution and extensible solution to be able to support different jurisdictions and different asset class and asset types in a easy way to extend it based on the Diamond Proxy standard and building different facets for its functionality and to adapt to different functionalities, because then you can have like a base standard of the smart contract and the functionality, but you will need to adapt it to different jurisdictions and different rules depend on the use case that you want to build on top of the solution. So the idea here in the Asset Tokenization Studio is to have a global platform for all the use case and all the products based on digital asset tokenization on top of Hedera. Probably Alberto can go in deeper details, more technical details about what we are building. Um, so yeah, go ahead, Alberto, if you
Yeah,
want.
so basically, like you said, so the ATS is an open source project where the core of the project is a bunch of smart contracts and a TypeScript SDK that anybody can download and start using it and extending it. There is also a front end that is also implemented and displayed just for demo purposes. And again, the goal of that tool is to deploy and manage assets on chain. So far we have implemented regular bonds, they say standard bonds and equities, but again, it can be extended to literally any asset that you can think of. And the added value of of the smart contracts is that actually all the business logic related to those assets is on chain. Included, for instance, for when it comes to the equities, everything related to the dividends, to determining exactly how much money each single token holder should receive. All of that is calculated in real time, everything on chain. And then from the architectural point of view, I think it's also very interesting that the ATS, the smart contracts of the ATS are built in using different modules. So we could think of a single module as one particular functionality. I don't want to get too technical here, but I think for those that, if there are any developers in the call, they would probably understand this. We are using what we call in the blockchain ecosystem a diamond pattern. So basically, a module corresponds to a facet, corresponds to a functionality. So we can play with that. We can potentially remove functionality, add new functionality, and get practically any kind of asset as that we want. Of course, there are some modules, some facets that are considered like core ones, those that you cannot live without them because otherwise the asset would not make any sense. So there is like an orthogonal view to those modules, which is that we can organize them by layers. So we have like the basic layer, what we call layer 1, where we put all the core modules again that have to be applied to every single asset that exists all over the world. Some very basic things like for access control, for pausing the asset, stuff like that. And then we can go up the hierarchy and start we have already done that, actually implemented more layers. We have the second layer, in this case, the one above the core layer, which is the one that will start defining assets. So start making the difference between what a standard bond looks like, a standard asset looks like, potentially a standard fund look like. And then you keep moving up that pyramid and you start like customizing those assets to your specific jurisdiction, to your specific use case, whichever it can be. And then at the top of the pyramid is where you get the asset that you actually deploy on the blockchain, because that's the one that contains all the modules, the facets that you need. That's regarding the smart contract, which is where that's the most interesting part of the ATS tool, obviously. But as we were saying, so the project ATS is divided in two different sub-projects, we could call them, so to speak. So the smart contracts that I've been talking about until now, and then the second one is the SDK, which is what from an off-chain backend or front end you would use in order to connect to those smart contracts that get deployed on chain. That SDK, I think the most interesting part about that is that it is compatible with Hedera Wallet Connect. So virtually any Hedera native wallet can be used in order to interact with the smart contracts. It is also compatible with MetaMask. As I was saying, these smart contracts that we deployed on Hedera, so the ATS smart contracts, they are just EVM compatible smart contracts. So theoretically, this tool could be deployed on other EVM blockchains, so it is interoperable with every single EVM blockchain, which could potentially be much more, enriching for the ecosystem, because you could potentially deploy an asset on Hedera and using Bridge or whatever technology. We haven't done that yet, but technically, since from a technical point of view, we are compatible, you could integrate with other blockchains that they are EVM compatible. That's the only restriction. And then yeah, the SDK also, again, not to get too technical, but it uses not just regular JSON RPCs, which is what all the EVM blockchains rely on, but it also relies on Hedera services like the Mirror node, the Hedera APIs, in order to make it more efficient in terms of performance. But that's obviously very specific to Hedera. If you move to a different EVM, you would not have that level of performance, but technically you would still be interoperable. And yeah, from a technical point of sight, I think that's quite a lot of information.
Just to add here, so the most interesting part is that imagine the Asset Tokenization Studio and as a drag and drop functionality to create your asset or your security. So we don't have to, we don't want to have like a bond standard that all the user wants to use. It's just to have different functionality and different modules, very small modules. So you can drag and drop the functionality and the modules and create your asset with the functionality that you only want to have. Imagine that you want to use KYC module or identity module. Even so, your use case potentially needs that functionality, but there are other use cases that don't want to have the identity on chain or don't want to manage the KYC on chain. So you can decide which kind of functionality you want to add to your asset. So it's like a drag and drop functionality that is the most interesting part of this architecture of the Asset Tokenization Studio.
Yeah. And I think another important thing, if I could say, and I think that could even start maybe a short conversation with you, Luke, is that so the standard that on which we based the ATS was the standard 1400, not the 3643, but there are already conversations, and I mean, we're already thinking about the possibility of making this tool compatible with the 3643. As you know, those are two standards. I mean, you obviously know your standard. You obviously know the other one that address a very similar issue, but in a different way. What do you think about the possibilities of making those two things compatible? So deploying a solution like ours that is compatible with both standards.
Yes, that's the idea, is that everything is becoming interoperable. However, when we started to work on ERC3643, ERC1400 was already there. It's not a real ERC, but it was already there. And we faced issues. What was good is that all of our customers were coming with their own law firm. So we didn't have to pay all of this legal fees, but we got a lot of feedback from law firms all around the world, and a lot of things were missing. And I understand why you have to build a lot of things on top of it. So you have compatible things. Both of them are ERC20 compatible for any wallet, etc. But there are differences that are hard to make compatible. For example, in ERC1400, you have a whitelist of wallets. In ERC3643, you basically have a dynamic whitelisting based on-chain identities. So there are some use cases for both, I guess, but it's one or the other. But why not? But what we try to do is to make sure that you have a common suite of smart contracts, and then you can build on top of it. And why it's important is because, for example, if you're a distributor, every time you get a new token to distribute, you cannot assess technically if it's a good smart contract or not. Distributors in the financial space, they don't have any technical skills to evaluate Solidity code. So what we provide with the association more and more, it's what we call an on-chain factory. So it's a smart contract, and in one transaction, you can deploy the full suite of ERC3643 tokens, and then you can add other modules, etc. So when it comes to the distributor, he can check the provenance of the smart contracts. He knows it's ERC3643, so he has a good idea of what's inside, and he can track the provenance to make sure it's audited, there's no backdoors, nothing. So it's a basis. It doesn't do everything. It's not a magical smart contract, but at least it's a common basis to make sure that for the whole value chain, especially distributors, fund administrators, and other type of agents, they know what they're dealing with when it comes to them. So I think a lot of things to do with you guys, of course, for all of these modules. And for example, you were talking about dividends. It's definitely something that is not by default in ERC3643, but it's very easy to add. Why? Because at the end, there are ERC20 tokens. ERC20 tokens on steroid, but ERC20 tokens.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, some of the modules that we build, they already exist in the 3643, so they could be either compatible or replaced by whatever you have done. I mean, obviously, that's a long conversation. I mean, it's something that we need to analyze in detail and everything. But there are other modules like the dividend you said, and many others that could be also added to the 3643 in order to make it like larger.
Definitely, yes, and it's what we why we created this non-profit association, is to see more and more development on top of the protocol. Of course, the protocol itself has to evolve step by step because the whole industry is progressing, but it's also and mostly to build on top of it. For example, recently we did this project with Layer 0 for cross-chain. So we have a lot of things that we can test and adapt. And I'm sure we'll see a lot of innovation with Hedera. When I see the activity of the community, I think it's going to be fun. And of course, with pleasure to build with you guys at IO Builders. Actually, you're one of the members of the association as well. So it's definitely something we want to do. We need doers, not only talkers. So very great to have you part of the association as well.
Exactly.
Sure.
I have an open question for all of you. As leaders in your fields, how do you envision the future of real-world assets tokenization, and how which suggestion you left to the community?
Who wants to
Who
start?
wants to start? Go ahead, Luke.
Okay, I can try. So we've seen a lot of things moving in the last 12, 18 months. I think it's when BlackRock started to say, hey, even crypto is not bad. So everybody started to work on crypto, digital asset, and therefore tokenization. Now that the meme coin frenzy is over, there's nothing much left except real things, or RWAs. So I think it's very good momentum for RWAs to bring attention and to see nice projects. What we are trying to do on our side is to bring existing assets, good assets on the blockchain. Of course, it's very tempting to say, okay, I have some assets, I will tokenize them, and suddenly I will reach thousands of investors. Reality is a bit more complex than that, obviously. So we are trying to connect to financial institutions, to their legacy systems, in order to replicate or to synchronize all of their data with blockchain, to make those assets available on chain and enable use cases such as secondary market, collateralization, and others. So basically trying to bring the valuable assets that everybody wants already, but on an infrastructure that is more accessible. And we think like this, we can bring a good part of the supply, and the more we have good supplies, the more we'll have demand from investors, and the more we'll have demand for investors, the more we'll see supply. So it's the virtuous cycle of Amazon. It works exactly like this. When you launch a marketplace, you need to start by the supply, and then we think that if we keep tokenizing assets one by one, it's going to be a very long journey for all of us. So we need to find ways to massively tokenize assets and to make them usable by the end users. I think we are going the right direction to do that.
Perfect. Thank you, Luke.
I can go next. So what we see from our side is that we try to push is to put together the traditional finance with the crypto space, because the traditional finance, what they want, if they want to tokenize and to go to any open protocol or open network, they are looking for liquidity at the end. So they doesn't matter if they have tokenized the asset or not, but they want liquidity. So it's a good point also to bring together the crypto space with the traditional finance and go with the liquidity from any cryptocurrency and stable coins to the traditional finance space. To achieve this goal, it's important to make all the tokenization process on chain with all the payments compatible with stable coins. That is one of the focus of the Asset Tokenization Studio as well. and also to be able to do it compatible with traditional cash or tokenized deposit. So putting together in the same tokenization process stable coins and other solution with like real money or traditional money trading together in a tokenization space. So I think this will be the future of the tokenization, having all the liquidity in the same place.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head, Ivan, because some of the benefits of real world asset tokenization will really be realized once we can get real-time payments, real-time redemptions. And so we're like, we need to push the boundary of where the TradFi is handing over to the on-chain world, so that we don't end up with the old school bottlenecks that are kind of still there. I think the way things are going and the wheels are turning. I think the contagion has started when it comes to RWAs, and it started very much from stable coins, where there was a product market fit between tokenized real world assets that are like liquid, that are like cash equivalents, because then they could be used for collateral for stable coins. And so that created the first kind of layer of demand that was sizable. So the growth of the stable coins actually started the growth of these assets, money market funds, treasury bills, on chain. And then that's one thing leading to another, right? Like eventually we're going into more asset classes. I mean, there's always been, real estate and things like that, and there's definitely going to be more demand for that. But it's like little by little that doors cracked open now, and then all the institutions are coming in, paying attention and doing things, not just doing POCs, but actually launching products. So I think I'm with Luc in that I would say this is one of these areas that are bear market proof, because the institutional adoption, it just kind of doesn't stop because the market is down or up or sideways. It just steady and going. So that's my thoughts.
Yeah, from my side, I just wanted to add a very short comment, which is that obviously these kind of things will be done gradually. What we are seeing is that the first step is like to deploy like brand new assets on chain, like are fully, let's call them fully on-chain native. But then the second step would be probably like a migration of all the assets that already exist in the Web2 ecosystem, so trade finance, migrating them on chain. That's obviously like the biggest part of the pie. I don't really know how exactly is going to be carried out that process, but that will be obviously like the last part of this on-chain migration, in my opinion.
I guess the dream is you don't have to have a digital twin anymore. You have a digital native asset on chain. You don't have to have like a central securities depository and like link back to that. Like everything just happens on chain. Yeah, that's the end goal. But for now, it's more. I guess there is an intermediary phase where we have to interface with TradFi, and that's probably where most of the pain happens. Regulation, I guess, needs to evolve to make it possible to issue directly on chain.
Also, we need to make those institutions, traditional finance institutions, trust the ecosystem and trust us in a way. So obviously, you do that gradually, not just from 1 to 100, from 0 to 100 in one step.
That's doing it.
The regulators need to also make it allowed, make it possible. I mean, there are countries that are a little bit more further ahead in that space, like Luxembourg. You can already have like an NFT could already signify ownership. And so, Luc, you know that well, right? Because you guys are headquartered in Luxembourg.
Yeah, Luxembourg was one of the first countries to issue some blockchain laws to reinsure everyone. It's part of the AU anyway. So now we have MICA saying if you do security tokens, they are not in MICA, they're just securities. But actually, almost everywhere where you have securities regulations, you can tokenize securities if you have the means to enforce these regulations on chain. And that's the whole purpose of ERC3643 is to say, actually, we don't need much more regulation. We just need the means to apply them. And that's what we built with the smart contracts. You still have some issues on the edge, of course, like the secondary market in Europe, but in many other countries. The second you bring two parties together, you fall within the exchange regulations, and therefore you cannot do anything, and you need an intermediary organizing everything. Whereas we have blockchain now, so we still need some adaptations for sure. But we can already tokenize a lot of assets. And I know that a lot of people are talking about the user experience. It's complicated, it's different, it's DeFi, it's scary. My opinion on this is that when people make money, they learn very fast. So if we bring them good use cases, where the money, the value moves faster than what they do usually, where they have more control, where they can manage their risk in a better way, we could see a very fast peak of adoption. It's not going to be linear; it's going to be by iteration, and we could see very big progress in the upcoming months and years for sure. So we all believe in this and try to make it happen step by step. But it's amazing to see that we've done, as you were saying, Sabrina, stable coins. Now we start to do a lot of money market fund, which is some kind of cash on chain but with yield. And then we do collateralization for this money market fund, and step by step we make sure that the value chain of finance understand what they can do with this new infrastructure. So I think the biggest part has been done actually to convince that blockchain is suitable, that is not to launder money, and that it can scale. So now it's about good execution.
Awesome. Thank you all for your responses. Also, I want to make you other question. It's regarding first, how we can reduce friction regarding adoption in real-world assets tokenization. And second, which kind of assets you would like to see being tokenized more? For example, last days I have seen a guy that is like tokenizing movies, movie production. So which kind of like crazy or a good like case that we can use this asset tokenization studio we would like to see more that we don't have right now? So I don't know if you have any approach right here.
Yeah, I think the answer is private markets, meaning all of these projects that needs financing, right? In energy, in data center, in film industry, why not? Every project out there needs financing at some point. And today in traditional finance, the financing comes from banks or from very large investors. It's not really accessible for retail investors, for common people. It's not really accessible. Most of the time, you have no clue in what you invest. So you can buy Google shares, Alphabet, whatever, easily. So the public markets, but everything on private markets is very hard to find. It's hard to invest. Usually, you're blocked in this investment for years. You have no liquidity, and mostly because there is no infrastructure. It's paper-based. It's Excel. It's terrible. So our main idea is to bring this on chain, all of this project on chain, to make sure that suddenly it's digital. So you can have thousands of investors on the same project, and it's still manageable. And also, they will be able to leverage the value of these assets to borrow more money, or they could trade with others to manage their portfolio and exit their position or buy more extra. So everything you see in public markets will become available for private markets, and all of these projects will be suddenly accessible. So then can be every type of project, and that's what I think is interesting. Recently, we've seen a lot of projects in the energy space, like wind farms, solar farms, that kind of things, data center, Bitcoin mining. I really like this project because it's basically, okay, we have an asset, it creates value regularly, create some yield, and we directly distribute it to token holders. I think it's great. Why do we need 5 intermediaries between the solar panel and the investor, right? So I think it's good.
For sure, thank you.
I totally agree with Luke. So everything can be tokenized, but we need to think about this kind of assets that needs more liquidity, like private equity funds is absolutely one of the best options to be tokenized for create this kind of liquidity and be more accessible for the investors. So totally agree with Luke.
From my side, what I would say, what it could be fun also to tokenize for, especially for funds, could be, for instance, like sports club, but small ones, not like the large ones that everybody knows, but those that don't have enough money in order to progress. Because I mean, you are obviously tokenizing that, so as an investor, you will be buying tokens from that club, but also there is like some kind of emotion into it, like you are somehow attached to that club. That could be also a funny thing, but at the end is basically what Luke and Ivan just said. So it's like private markets, so entities or institutions that need money, so they raise it by using blockchain technology.
Yeah, I think it's interesting when we end up with new use cases, not just a replication of what's already available in TradFi. So yeah, private markets are not really readily available to, say, like your average retail investor. So that's where it's interesting. Like as a retail investor, like not everybody has like, I don't know, 250K or $1 million to put in a venture capital fund, for example. Now you'd be able to, say, invest in, I don't know, a tokenized secondary of like your favorite AI company. Or just put a bet in a fund, but at a much smaller, smaller ticket size, like $10 or $1,000, however much you want to put in there. So you'll be able to kind of diversify and maybe invest in interesting assets, maybe things that are more aspirational, like you cannot afford the $2 million like Patek Philippe, but you can buy like a fraction of it. You can buy a fraction of a diamond or something. Yeah.
And
awesome
at the end,
answers. Thank you for that.
You will be able to manage your portfolio in a better way thanks to this, and you can even ask some AI to do it for you. Everything will become programmable, so that's quite exciting. You will not need a private banker to advise you. You will be able to do it by yourself or use some program directly on chain.
Just let the agents run wild.
Awesome, thank you. So now let's continue with the questions made by the community. So I'm going to start putting on the screen the questions, and whatever response is like accepted here. So first one from Stan: is NVIDIA partnering with Hedera? I don't know.
So I'll take that one. I think that's referring to the Equity Lab partnership between so NVIDIA and Equity Lab and Intel as well. So it's not the direct partnership with Hedera, as I understand it. It's that startup really embedding their solution into those chips to allow for AI models to be verifiable. So yeah, it's a bit of an oversimplification.
Perfect. Right now we have other question from Stan. That is there a roadmap with the ICP partnership?
That's a good question, but I don't really have an answer to that one. So not that I know of. I'm gonna stop there.
No, don't worry. This one can be more related for the IO Builder STEM. Has any government inquired in the tokenization studio?
Not that I know of. I mean, we have implemented the USA regulation, but we were not in contact with the USA's authorities when we did that. It was we were in contact with the client that was interested in building that this tool. They knew the regulations, so we were in contact with them. But as far as I know, we were not in contact with anybody from any government, right?
Okay, perfect. Any future plan?
To extend to further regulations, yes, of course. So that's the idea, to keep integrating all the regulations from other places in the world. I don't know if we will be in contact with governments or not. That part I don't know. But regarding regulations and jurisdictions, yes, for sure we'll be adding them.
Okay, perfect. And we have like any insight regarding like these future regulations we are going to start in which countries? I don't know, Spain?
Europe, you mean? Because at the end, I mean, yeah. So Europe, Singapore, right, Sabrina? So that's the idea. So a bit of Asia, a bit of Europe, and yeah, that's pretty much.
And just follow the demand essentially, and we've been getting a lot of inquiries for different
Awesome.
areas. So yeah,
Awesome, perfect.
more support there.
This one is a large question, so let's continue. Can T-Rex handle any asset? How can ERC3643 help manage your rights and obligations without the ability to break down who owns, holds, or has the right to use a specific asset? Is it real tokenization?
Indeed, so a long question, but I will try my best. So yes, you can tokenize any type of asset because it's for centralized issuances. So basically, you decide what your token represents. So if it's a banana or multi-billion-dollar fund, it's up to you. But of course, you will have more issues to convince investors if it's a banana and not a multi-billion-dollar fund. So you can really define what you tokenize, and you define your rules, and these rules are legal rules. Usually, you have a legal contract actually linked to these tokens. So for the asset, yes, it's very large. Most of the time, it's for financial products. So it can be funds, debt instruments, equities, a bit of everything. You decide as an issuer. And the second part of the question was about. Yes. So how do we track the ownership basically of this assets? So it's thanks to the on-chain identity system. So you can only transfer these tokens to eligible investors, so people who have been identified properly by the issuer, the creator of the token, or its agents. So every time you hold tokens, you have someone who is responsible legally to track the ownership, who knows that you own these tokens. And even if someone steal your wallet, get access to your wallet, and transfer your token somewhere else, first, you cannot transfer them anywhere else who is not approved, but also it doesn't mean it changed the ownership. So very often we talk about compliance, and people are like, I don't want to be KYC checked, and I don't want all of these rules and AML and anti-terrorism, blah, blah. That's annoying. But actually, compliance is very important to guarantee your ownership, to guarantee your rights as an investor, and to make sure that you really own something. We see a lot of projects in the market where you invest, you get a simple permissionless ERC20 token that you can transfer to anyone else, but legally speaking, the asset is not transferable. So basically, you can invest, you sell the token to someone else, you're still legally the investor, so you got double money, but of course the buyer of your token will not be happy. So we will see in the upcoming months here some issues like this, where we reintroduce the double spending issue that we try to fix with blockchain, just because we don't manage properly identity on the blockchain. So that's why we have done permission tokens. We know it's a bit annoying to identify yourself, but it's the only way to guarantee your legal ownership of assets.
Thank you for that answer, Luke. I think we can make the last question. Is this one: have any service providers utilize Hedera Hashgraph smart contracts and ATS for network management of a secure private communication network? So I don't know any case we have.
No, as far as I know.
I'm not sure I really understand the use case, but if it was to manage a network, I don't think that you would need the features of the ATS for that, because it's more geared towards securities. So it would be, yeah, I think it would be overkill. Like you would be able to do that maybe just with HTS and maybe a smart contract, but I think ATS probably would not be adapted. That's how I look at it.
I agree. It's for deploying assets, not for securing communications in private networks. That's not the point of the ATS.
Okay, perfect. Regarding this, there should be a free class how to interact with HBAR. I suggest going to docs.hedera.com. They're going to get in a start, and there you will have a lot of documentation you will have for free to know how to interact with HBAR. And also, we have integrated in the POP, as a POP, the Kappa AI bot that would help you to answer any question and facilitate your building process. Last but not least, all of you are invited to participate in the AI Agents Hackathon that is starting in the next days. There will be 30K USD dollars in prizes. So let's participate. And yeah, it's a good opportunity to understand better the technology and be part of this building community. Thank you, Luke, Ivan, Sabrina, Alberto, for being here. Thank you for that comment. And yes, hope to see you all in the future. And hello, future.
Thanks for having us.
Thank
Thank you very much.
See you guys.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.